From homeless black man to millionaire, how Elon Musk and Donald Trump inspire success. Ryan's phone buzzed again. Another headline screaming across his screen. From homeless black man to millionaire, how Elon Musk and Donald Trump inspire success. He scoffed, but there was something strange about this story. It wasn't the usual fluff. It dug deep into the streets where a homeless man named Samuel lived. Someone everyone seemed to forget, except Elon Musk. The city around Ryan pulsed like a beating heart. Neon lights slicing through shadows, the distant rumble of subway trains, sirens wailing like ghosts in the night. Ryan, a millionaire used to silk suits and penthouse views, felt a tightness in his chest. It wasn't envy, it was curiosity. Confusion. How did Elon Musk, the titan of tech, waste countless hours hunting down a man scrawny enough to vanish into a crowd? And why? Rumors buzzed in dark alleys and dusty corners of the city's forgotten zones. Samuel wasn't just another shadow on the street. Whispers said he held a secret older than time. A secret powerful enough to shake the world. Ancient technology buried within his mind or in his hands. Something Elon wanted to grab before any other soul could. Ryan leaned back in his leather chair, hands trembling slightly. His world was one of high rises and endless money. But this unsettled him. Why was his gut screaming at him to care, to act, to protect? He'd seen the news, Musk throwing millions into secret projects, sending scouts deep into forgotten neighborhoods. The obsession was brutal, almost violent. When Ryan caught sight of Musk's cold eyes during a conference, he glimpsed something darker than ambition. A shadow that stretched beyond inventiveness into something terrifying. Ryan's own life felt suddenly fragile, like a mirage. Between the endless parties and luxury cars, he carried a secret too. The name Samuel, linked directly to Ryan's bloodline. A hidden family past, tangled with power, lies, and promises made in fear. The city streets whispered it all as Ryan stepped out for air. The cold steel of the night wrapped around him, but inside, his mind burned. What did Samuel know? Why did Elon want him so badly? And more, who else was listening, watching? People passed by, some with pity, others with disgust. A mother clutched her child tighter. A businessman sneered at a figure sleeping near the subway entrance. The city was alive but fractured. And Samuel was the fault line. Ryan's heart raced. His luxury condo suddenly felt like a cage. He rubbed his jaw, taste bitter and sharp. Protecting Samuel meant risking everything. His reputation, his fortune, maybe his life. And yet the thought whispered louder. What if letting go meant losing humanity itself? The stakes weren't just high. They were life or death. Ryan swallowed hard, a bead of sweat trickling down his temple. Somewhere in the distance, metal clanged. He didn't know who'd win this fight, but he knew it would change everything. What was Elon really after? And could Ryan face the truth about his own family before it was too late? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content that's coming. And since you're here, drop a powerful like. That really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and let me know in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Ryan's heart pounded, a wild drum echoing through the silence of the night. His mind raced with the weight of uncertainty. What if Samuel knew something that could topple the empire he had built? What if Elon Musk was maneuvering for control over something bigger than money? Just as he took a step forward, a scream sliced through the air, a sound so raw and anguished it felt like a knife in his gut. Startled, Ryan spun around, searching for the source. Across the street, a small crowd had gathered, faces twisted in shock, eyes wide with terror. He moved closer, propelled by an urge he couldn't ignore. The cold steel of the night was suddenly unbearable as panic washed over him. Someone shouted, "Call an ambulance!" Ryan pushed his way through the throng. The city lights hurt his eyes, blinding him to what was unfolding ahead. He arrived at the front, and reality slammed into him like a freight train. There lay Samuel, blood pooling beneath him, glistening like dark oil in the neon glow. His body was still, but his eyes were wide open, haunted and unblinking. A deep gash marred his forehead. Ryan felt bile rise in his throat. "Someone, help him!" he yelled, the urgency of the moment pulling him into action. But around him people stood frozen, their disbelief mingling with fear. A few murmured, "Is he dead?" No, it couldn't be. Ryan dropped to his knees, desperate to check for a pulse. He barely heard the sirens wailing in the distance. They were too far away, too slow. "Samuel!" His voice cracked, tears stinging at the corners of his eyes. Oh, in that instant, the world fell silent. No city noise, no chatter. Just the awful thud of Ryan's heart drowning him. He found it, Samuel's pulse, weak but there. Relief flooded through him, but confusion followed too. Why was this happening? Who would do this? Then a shadow loomed behind him. Ryan turned, and there was Elon Musk, tall and imposing, his expression unreadable. He didn't look shocked. No sorrow, just a chilling calm. As though he had known this fate awaited Samuel all along. "What did you do?" Ryan's voice was barely a whisper, trembling with rage and horror. Elon didn't respond immediately. He stepped closer, his gaze piercing through the crowd, as though measuring their loyalty. "I didn't do this," he said evenly. "But I've been waiting for a moment like this." A chill crept down Ryan's spine. Timing? What did he mean? Then Musk continued, "People don't understand the power that lies within those like him. The world isn't ready for secrets like Samuel's." Ryan kneeled next to Samuel, dread pooling in his gut. The man who once seemed like a forgotten soul now held a truth greater than either of them had imagined. Before he could process it, a sharp cry cut through the tension. The police had arrived. Their lights flickered erratically, illuminating the street in a dance of blues and reds. Ryan looked up, and the crowd dispersed, hearts racing, curiosity boning. He realized it wasn't just Samuel's life hanging in the balance. Hidden truths were fracturing the world they lived in. Then it hit him. What if Samuel had something that Elon believed could change everything? The stakes weren't just life or death now. They were explosive, ready to shatter lives wide open. And as he looked back at Elon, a thought struck hard as a fist. Was he the next target? As the sirens wailed and questions pulsed in the air, Ryan held Samuel's hand, feeling the frail grip that tied him to something bigger. What was the true cost of this secret? Would he find out before it was too late? Ryan's heart raced as he stepped further into the shadowy streets, his mind a whirlpool of questions that churned beneath the chilling night. What was Elon truly after? Each step felt heavier, like the weight of... Suddenly, a loud crash broke through the night like glass shattering. Ryan spun around, adrenaline surging. A few yards away, he saw it. A group of teens, skateboards in hand, whooping and hollering, oblivious to the tension surrounding them. But then, another sound rippled through the air. A scream! It wasn't just any scream. It was ragged, desperate. It sliced through the noise like a knife, and Ryan instinctively froze. The laughter disappeared, replaced by dread. He hurried toward the piercing cry, each heartbeat pounding louder than the last. As he rounded the corner, he saw him. Samuel was on the ground, surrounded by strangers. Ryan's breath caught. The rugged figure, once just a shadow to him, was now a man trembling with fear. Blood oozing from a nasty gash on his arm. A woman knelt beside him, trying to staunch the flow, her hands shaking, eyes wide with panic. But the true horror lay in the crowd. Faces twisted with shock and disgust. But one expression cut through the rest. Recognition. Someone gasped. Ryan's stomach dropped, a wave of nausea washing over him. Isn't that Samuel, the one they're looking for? In that moment, everything changed. The whispers he'd heard earlier clicked into place. Elon wasn't just hunting Samuel for secrets. He was after something much darker. And the crowd? They weren't mere bystanders. They were witnesses and hunters themselves. The commotion drew more eyes. A man in a dark coat pushed forward, his presence commanding. Ryan's pulse quickened as he recognized him. Marcus, a notorious fixer for elite tycoons who dabbled in everything from real estate to worse. Why was he here? Get him up! We don't have time for this! Marcus barked, waving his hands like a conductor of chaos. His eyes met Ryan's, and in that brief exchange, a chilling realization settled in. They were both tangled in the same web. Ryan couldn't stay hidden any longer. "What do you want with him?" he shouted, stepping closer, desperation lacing his voice. He felt the gaze of the crowd drilling into him, disbelief mixing with anticipation. "Stay out of it, Ryan," Marcus snapped. "This is beyond you. You don't know what you're getting into." "No, I do," Ryan shouted back, frustration boiling. "That's my family's blood on the line." The crowd fell into a stunned silence. A mix of gasps and whispers filled the air. Ryan's voice trembled with the weight of the truth. Everyone turned to him, eyes wide with a mix of incredulity and fear. "What do you mean?" someone whispered from the back. Ryan opened his mouth to respond, but before he could speak, Samuel groaned. "You have to stop them. They'll do anything. They're not human." The revelation hung thick in the air, heavy as lead. Ryan's chest tightened, suffused with confusion. What did Samuel know? What didn't he know? And more importantly, what was coming next? As sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer, Ryan realized this was just the beginning. The stakes had never felt so high, and he was standing at the edge of something dark and unfathomable. Would he protect Samuel, even if it meant confronting his own bloodline? The night was far from over, and danger loomed like a storm ready to break. Ryan's heart thundered in his chest, reverberating through the chaos of the moment. The crowd shifted restlessly, eyes darting between him, Samuel, and Marcus, whose silence now felt like a looming storm. "What do you mean?" someone whispered again, confusion threading through the throng. But before Ryan could respond, he felt a strange sensation, a cold breeze creeping down his spine. Samuel lay there, trembling, words barely escaping his lips. "You have to understand. Not everything is as it seems." His voice grew weaker. Suddenly, the chaos erupted. Just then, Marcus lunged into the crowd, inches away from Samuel. "Move!" he barked, pushing people aside as if they were mere obstacles. Ryan's instincts screamed at him to act. In that very instant, a sharp explosion shattered the night. Glass shattered somewhere off to the left. Screams erupted, and everyone ducked. A flash of fire lit up the street. Ryan's pulse raced. The world twisted in slow motion. Smoke billowed, mixing with the stench of fear. "Get down!" he shouted, instinct taking over. The crowd scattered in panic, pushing him closer to Samuel. Ryan froze, thoughts a whirlwind. What the hell was happening? But Marcus wasn't finished. "God damn it! You're too late!" he yelled, eyes glinting with a manic glee that sent chills coursing down Ryan's spine. The grasp of power twisted the man's features into something almost unrecognizable. In that moment, the pavement shook underfoot, and Ryan felt a wave of urgency. He dropped to Samuel's side, cradling the man's head in his hands. "Please, stay with me." Samuel's eyes fluttered, a whisper escaping his lips. "They're coming. They're—" Marcus raised a glinting object in the chaos, something sharp, metallic. "You don't understand, Ryan. He isn't just a man. He's a key." The air froze. Samuel's eyes widened, fear etched into every line of his face. "No, they can't find it," he gasped. Then, in an instant, everything changed. The ground beneath them cracked open, revealing an underground passage lined with ancient symbols glowing a ghostly blue. "What the—" Ryan's eyes widened. This was no ordinary secret. The crowd, now filled with shock and fear, gasped as the passage seemed to beckon. Voices whispered from the shadows, chilling and deep. They called out to Samuel, pulling at the very fabric of reality. Ryan's mind reeled. This moment shattered his understanding of everything. Samuel was more than a forgotten man. He was part of a much larger puzzle. He reached for Samuel, grappling with the truth. "What did you mean? What's down there?" But Marcus, with an almost manic grin, slid a hand toward Ryan. "You're too close, little brother." The words caught Ryan off guard, a knife slicing through the tension. Brother? What was he talking about? The questions exploded in Ryan's head. A torrent of confusion and betrayal. "Brother?" La cuadre se murmó. Las miras de partes de Ryan y Marcus, llevándose la revelación. Antes que Ryan pudiera procesarlo, otro cojones sonante que desesperan ver desagudiente más hacia más. Las sombras de Marcus ardiendo al manico del manto. En la ira de disparos de castigo, y siente la semilla de Ryan. Oriendo así, desnudo como el peligro, hijo de Samuel, cuyo alma tentaba de hablar, pero solo gritaba, urgencia, miedo, verdad. It lies within. Suddenly, a shadow darkened the opening of the passage. A figure emerged, cloaked and silent, the outline shifting in the dim light. Time froze. "Who are you?" Ryan asked, voice trembling. But even as he spoke, he felt the truth unraveling beneath him. This had become a battle for more than Samuel's life. It was about the past, the hidden fate of their bloodline, and the power it held. And he knew, deep down, nothing would ever be the same. What else had been hidden in the dark? Ryan's heart raced. His luxury condo felt like a cage. He rubbed his jaw, taste bitter and sharp. Protecting Samuel meant risking everything. His reputation, his fortune, maybe his life. And yet, the thought whispered louder. What if letting go meant losing humanity itself? The stakes weren't just high. They were life or death. But then, a sudden scream pierced the night. It shattered the thick air around him. Ryan jolted, pushing himself off the railing. He turned, eyes darting to the source of the noise. People nearby stopped in their tracks, faces twisted in shock. A woman, pointing, terror etched deep across her features. That way! There was a gunshot. Instinct took over. Ryan moved, slipping through the crowd. Each footfall resonated like thunder. As he approached, chaos unfolded before his eyes. Two figures tangled in a brawl on the sidewalk, shadows flailing like marionettes caught in a storm. One was Samuel, wild-eyed, fists swinging, instinctual defense against an unseen enemy. "Samuel!" Ryan yelled, pushing through bodies. But the moment hung like a weight. The world was frozen, all attention drawn to the scene of violence. Somewhere in the corner of his vision, he glimpsed something glimmer, metallic, ominous. A second man loomed over Samuel, his face hidden beneath a hood, teeth bared in a savage grin. "Give it to me," he shouted, gripping Samuel by the collar, pulling him up off the ground. The crowd gasped, disbelief rippling through them. Then came a crack, a gunshot that ripped through the tension like a lightning strike. Ryan's breath caught. The world spun. Who had fired? Panic surged. Instinct told him to flee, but his feet remained rooted, locked in place by sheer terror. He watched as Samuel fell, arms instinctively protecting his head, crumpling like paper to the ground. Silence ensued, heavy and thick. In that moment, everything changed. Ryan moved closer, heart pounding in his chest, desperate to see if Samuel was all right. But there was more. As he neared the fallen man, he caught the glimmer again. A small object slipped from Samuel's hand, rolling toward Ryan. When he bent down, picking it up, he recognized it, an old, intricate locket. Not just any locket. It was a family heirloom. It had been lost. A relic of his own past. One his mother whispered about in hushed tones. secrets wrapped in gold. A chill ran down his spine. In that instant, he realized Samuel was family. No, more than family. Ryan's heart hammered. Samuel was his brother. Before he could digest the weight of that truth, sirens wailed in the distance, closing in fast. Light in the distance bounced off buildings. Bodies scattered, but Ryan stood frozen. Torn between two worlds, wealth and safety on one side, blood ties and danger on the other. He looked down at the locket in his palm, warmth radiating from its surface. Questions crashed in like waves. Who was the hooded man? What did he want with Samuel? And what terrible truths swirled just out of reach? Then came the realization, Ryan wasn't just protecting a stranger. He was protecting his brother. A bond buried under years of lies, fear, and choices made in darkness. The sirens drew closer, and in that frantic moment, everything felt like a ticking clock. With adrenaline coursing through him, Ryan knew he had to act. But how? What would he choose? Envelope himself in the world of wealth, or embrace the chaos of a hidden family history? And most pressing of all, could he save his brother before it was too late? Time unraveled faster than he could comprehend, breath hitching as the night deepened. The line between enemies and allies blurred, even as blades of truth cut through the shadows. Ryan stood frozen, the cool night air biting at his skin. His heart thudded like a drum in the silence. Each beat a reminder of the storm inside him. He felt it again, that tightness creeping back into his chest. What did he have to lose? But there was more at stake than just his wealth. It was everything, his very soul. Suddenly, a loud crash shattered the night. Glass shattered nearby, slicing through the air like daggers. Ryan jumped, instincts kicking in as he rushed to the source. He pushed through the crowd, eyes scanning the faces of the startled onlookers. Fear danced across their expressions. Then he saw it. A storefront exploded in a shower of bright shards. Someone had smashed a window open. Before he could process what was happening, a figure leapt from the shadows into the night, clutching a tattered backpack. Samuel. Ryan's breath caught in his throat. This was the moment. The rumors were real. Samuel was more than a homeless man. He was someone worth fighting for. But just as Ryan reached out, ready to help, a blaring siren pierced the night. Police lights flashed, illuminating the darkened street in chaotic blues and reds. In the chaos, something slipped from Samuel's backpack, a small glinting object. Time seemed to freeze as the object clattered to the pavement, rolling toward Ryan's feet. He blinked, unsure whether to move closer or step back. The object gleamed under the lights, an old, ornate pendant, etched with symbols Ryan could barely comprehend. An electric thrill shot through him, intertwining with fear. Samuel turned, eyes wild, as if he sensed the weight of that pendant. For a moment, they locked eyes, Ryan's questioning gaze hitting Samuel like a freight train. "Help me!" Samuel shouted, desperation thick in his voice. "They're coming for me!" Before Ryan could respond, more figures appeared. They emerged like shadows from the alley, cloaked and menacing. Their eyes held a hunger that sent a shiver down his spine. The whispers, what Samuel knew, what Elon wanted. It all came crashing down like a wave of truth. "Get away from him!" Ryan yelled, feeling strength surge through him, but the words felt weak, a whisper against the looming storm. He didn't feel like a millionaire anymore. He felt like a pawn, caught between massive forces. "Run, Samuel!" he cried as the hooded figures closed in. The crowd shifted, some ducking for cover, others frozen in shock. A woman screamed. A child cried out. Chaos erupted. Hands gripped Ryan's arms, fingers digging in like claws. People murmured, voices blending into a cacophony of fear and confusion. Samuel stumbled back, the pendant slipping through his fingers. It hit the ground, shattering into pieces. A blinding light burst forth, illuminating the alley in a surreal glow. Ryan couldn't blink. He was caught in the brilliance, a web tightening around his chest. Then it struck him, a dizzying realization. The pendant wasn't just a trinket. It was a key to an ancient power, a power that Elon was obsessed with. Ryan's blood ran cold. The secrets of his bloodline were tied to this madness, this desperation that surged through the streets. Just as quickly as it began, the glow faded, leaving shadows and silence. Samuel wasn't just a man. He was the keeper of something profound. And Ryan felt it. He was part of this, knitted deeply into its fabric. "Ryan!" Samuel's voice was a whisper now, thin and frayed. "You have to choose! It's bigger than us." The night clung to him, thick with uncertainty. The sirens grew louder, closer. What had just happened? Who were those figures? And why did he feel the pull of something larger than himself? Ryan's mind spun like a whirlwind. The fight was only beginning. Ryan's heart raced. Shadows swelled and thinned around him as he stepped deeper into the night. The weight of the city pressed against his chest, and for a moment he thought he'd turn back. But the thought of Samuel lingered, electric and haunting. Protecting him felt right. But how? Suddenly, a loud crash shattered the tension. Metal clanged and bodies shifted. Ryan swung around to see a group of men pushing through the crowd, their faces masked, eyes wild. They moved with frantic energy, shoving people aside like mere obstacles. Panic surged through the streets. People screamed, scattering like leaves in the wind. What the hell? Ryan thought, his instincts kicking in. He stepped back and pressed against the nearest wall, eyes wide. And that's when he saw him, Samuel, just a few feet away, staring straight at the chaos, his eyes as sharp as glass, yet filled with something darker, deeper. Before Ryan could process, one of the masked men lunged. He grabbed Samuel, pulling him roughly to his feet. The crowd gasped, a collective inhale that echoed like the rustling of 1,000 leaves. "No!" Ryan shouted, adrenaline surging. He made a move forward, but the others closed ranks, their voices a low, rumbling growl. Samuel froze. His expression sparked with something like recognition, maybe fear. Ryan felt a lump in his throat. He didn't just want to rescue him. He needed to. But then, the twisted reality unveiled itself. "Let go of him!" Ryan yelled, struggling to step through the fray. But it was useless. The crowd surged in, panic sweeping like a wave, pulling him back. Then Samuel turned, his voice cutting through the chaos. Don't help me. You don't know what you're getting into. His words hit Ryan like a punch. Confusion churned in his gut. How could Samuel know more than he did? Samuel, Ryan pleaded, desperation clawing at his lips. And that's when it happened. A figure stepped from the shadows. A woman, tall and fierce, standing like a guardian. She pulled down her hood, revealing a face that sent chills racing down Ryan's spine. It was Lily, someone from his past, someone he thought he'd left behind. Her eyes glinted with a haunting sheen. "Lily?" Ryan gasped, thoughts whirling like a storm. "What are you doing here?" "They need him, Ryan. They know who he is," she shouted above the rising chaos. "What he holds." Ryan's mouth went dry. His blood ran cold. This wasn't about money or fame. It was deeper, darker. They were all tangled in something neither of them could escape. Samuel's eyes met Ryan's. Fear, anger, and something unrecognizable. Suddenly the tension shifted. Before Ryan could react, Lily's expression twisted. "Run!" she yelled, but it was too late. The men tightened their grip on Samuel, pulling him toward an alley, shadows swallowing them whole. "No!" Ryan's voice cracked, emotion spilling over. Heart hammering, he bolted forward, desperation blinding him. The crowd parted like a sea, but each step felt heavier. A shot rang out. Fire splintered through the air, echoing off the buildings. Silence crashed into chaos, and Samuel was gone. Ryan stood, breath frozen in his chest. Gaze fixed on the alley. He felt as if the ground had vanished beneath him. The urgency rushed back, but everything had changed. "Who are you? What was that?" he muttered, shaking as he turned to Lily, searching for answers. But Lily was gone, leaving only a whisper in the wind. What was this secret? Why now, and why Samuel? The world shifted under his feet, and Ryan knew he couldn't run from the truth any longer. He had to uncover the danger behind the darkness, before it swallowed them all whole. Ryan stood, breath frozen in his chest, gaze fixed on the alley. Samuel was gone. A wave of panic washed over him. He had never felt so helpless, so defeated. Adrenaline pumped through his veins, igniting a sense of urgency. But in the blink of an eye, everything fell silent. People murmured, their voices mingling in confusion. Then came a scream. It pierced through the tension, a raw, splintered cry that shattered the air. Ryan turned abruptly, heart racing, searching for its source. He followed the sound, pushing through the crowd, feeling their eyes on him. They were looking for answers just as he was. And then he saw her, the woman from the alley, her shadowy figure emerging beneath the chaos. But this time, she wasn't alone. Behind her stood a hulking silhouette, forced through the shadows like the dark itself. "Stop!" Ryan shouted, but the words fell into a bottomless void. There was a flash of light. It had seemed so sudden, bright, and blinding. A pulse of energy surged through the air, and for a moment, everything froze. People stood still, the world suspended like an unfinished painting. And then it all came crashing down. The dark figure stepped forward into the light. Ryan's stomach twisted when recognition hit him full force. The man was familiar, yet impossible. Marcus. But he wasn't just Marcus anymore. No, he looked transformed, radiating a power that rippled like electricity through the crowd. "Surprise, brother!" Marcus laughed, his voice echoing off the walls. "I've been waiting for this moment." A chill ran down Ryan's spine. Brother? This couldn't be true. It felt surreal, like the worst kind of nightmare. It didn't make sense. Wasn't Marcus just an enemy? Another player in this twisted game? But as he stared into Marcus's eyes, something shifted. Marcus dropped an ancient-looking artifact at Ryan's feet, a gleaming stone, glistening in the neon light. "This is what you've been looking for," he said, voice dripping with delight. "Your family's legacy." Time seemed to unravel as Ryan processed this revelation. Marcus held the keys to something bigger than all of them. A family's history buried beneath lies, secrets waiting to be unearthed. Ryan shook his head in disbelief. "You can't be serious." But Marcus was deadly serious. "Don't you see? It's all connected. Samuel, you, me. We're part of something much larger. Power that you don't even know exists." The crowd whispered, tension crackling like static in the air. They were watching a collision of worlds unfold. Wealth against desperation. Truth against falsehood. "No!" Ryan yelled, stepping back, hands trembling. "Samuel's not part of your twisted world." "Isn't he?" Marcus shot back, eyes sparkling with dark glee. "He's the key to everything, and soon the world will know the truth." In that moment, it all exploded! Ha 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 ha! A violence surged through the crowd as the hooded figures returned. Emerging from the shadows like a storm, they surged towards Marcus and Ryan, driven by a hunger that sent shivers down Ryan's spine. "Run!" Samuel's voice echoed in the chaos. Ryan's heart ached, but before he could move, a sudden explosion rocked the street, cascading debris in every direction. Flames erupted, lighting up the night in a furious blaze. The crowd scattered, screaming, as panic unraveled at the seams. Ryan felt a heat wash over him, instinct kicking in. He had to get to Samuel. But as he turned, fear locked him in place. Everything shifted. The air crackled, and reality twisted. It was a moment of pure chaos, and within it, Ryan finally understood. He wasn't just fighting for Samuel, he was fighting for his own identity, a truth that shook the ground beneath him. As the smoke filled the air, the darkness loomed, and Ryan questioned everything he thought he knew. Was Marcus truly an ally, or just another player in this dangerous game? And what had he just unleashed? The crowd screamed, the world spun, and the shadows deepened. Ryan knew this was only the beginning. Ryan stood, breath frozen in his chest, gaze fixed on the alley. Samuel was gone. A wave of panic washed over him. The sirens wailed, the flames flickered, shadows danced, and the world felt like it was collapsing around him. Every heartbeat echoed like thunder in his ears, a push to move, to act. But what could he do now? "Marcus!" Ryan shouted, voice strained, eyes darting toward the dark figure. Rage surged, but he felt so small, so lost. In that moment, a realization hit him. It wasn't just chaos on the street, it was a reckoning. The very foundation of his life was shaking beneath him. But as he stood frozen, everything changed in an instant. In the haze of smoke and fire, a thin figure stepped into the light. Ryan's heart plummeted. It was a girl, a child, maybe 10 or 11, clutching a teddy bear, her wide, terrified eyes scanning the scene. She was trapped among the throng of people, pushing and pulling in every direction. No! Ryan's breath came out in a rush. Get her out of here! But before he could move, a swift motion caught his eye. The hooded figures, still shrouded in darkness, spun around. They descended like vultures on the child, and just as she turned to run, one of them lunged forward. Instinct kicked in. Ryan surged forward through the chaos, determination leaping in his chest. "Leave her alone!" he bellowed, pushing through. But just as he reached her, the world exploded once more. A blast rent the air, a shock wave blowing through the night, tossing bodies aside like leaves. The ground shook violently, and Ryan fell, hitting the pavement hard. Dazed, he looked up through the cloud of dust and debris swirling in the air. The avenue erupted into chaos. People screamed, others fled. Confusion consumed everything. And yet, as his senses sharpened, Ryan heard something. "Ryan!" It was Samuel's voice, deep and urgent, cutting through the pandemonium like a knife. Ryan followed it, dragging himself to his feet, fighting against the tide of panic. He spotted Samuel on the ground, surrounded by the hooded figures. They had a fierce grip on him, shadows twisting and morphing, choking the life out of him. "That's not your fight," one of them hissed, his voice low and threatening. But there was something more. In the air, a shimmer caught Ryan's eye. The pendant! The shards of the pendant glowing ominously, emanating energy. Samuel's eyes locked onto Ryan's, horror etched across his face. "Get away from her!" Samuel shouted suddenly, startling Ryan. Her? What was Samuel talking about? Confusion gripped him, but the urgency in Samuel's voice sent a jolt through him. He focused back on the girl, but it was too late. The darkness around Samuel slipped away, revealing a shocking truth. The child was gone. No, she had never been there. Instead, in her place, stood a mirror image of Samuel, only younger. No, what? Ryan stumbled back, mind racing. This wasn't possible. Confusion twisted into dread. "It's a trap!" Samuel yelled, despair flooding his voice. "They're using her face to lure me to—" But before he could finish, something shifted in the air. The glow around the pendant pulsed ominously. The hooded figures recoiled, their forms flickering like bad reception. "She is our key! You cannot protect him!" A blinding flash erupted from the pendant, engulfing the alley in white light, shattering everything that divided their worlds. Ryan shielded his eyes, fear coursing through him like ice water. When the light dimmed, he opened his eyes slowly, heart pounding, and the world looked different. The crowd, the alley, everything began to fade. Around him, the hooded figures shifted, revealing something horrific. They were morphing, merging into another form entirely, and then he saw it. No, no, you can't be serious! Samuel wasn't just a man, he was part of them. Bloodlink, create to connect darkness con la luz, deséptico con la verdad. La revelación tortó a Ryan como una leña de torcaradas, despojándose todo. Mirando a los profundos de la verdad, Ryan realizó que todo se había sabido. Would he protect Samuel, or was he truly persecuting a sombra? Llegó a tiempos horribles del todo. La cuestión se nos queda más que nunca. as the shadows grindo wider y la noche se natina en un vertecos. Ryan sentía algo más profundo al molerse en las profundidades de este secreto. Would he uncover what this all meant before the darkness consumed them? Ryan se cayó. El momento está espesado en su coma. El aire agudo, fuerte y eléctrico. Shadows flickered, but in the blazing light, he saw clarity. Samuel wasn't just a man. He was a piece of a puzzle that would change everything. "Samuel!" he shouted again, desperation flaring in his chest like a wildfire. The hooded figures hesitated, their forms flickering beneath the radiant brightness. He knew this was their chance. "Gather your strength," he yelled, launching forward. The moment hung like a fragile thread. "We can stop them." Samuel's eyes narrowed with determination, a flicker of hope igniting between them. "Together," he breathed, punching through the darkness that once enveloped him. The pendant pulsed rhythmically between them. It held something ancient, something fierce. Ryan reached out, grasping Samuel's arm as the hooded figures recoiled. "This is our moment!" He squeezed, sharing strength, urgency rushing through their bond. The figures hissed, confusion blooming in their eyes. "You don't understand," one spat. "He belongs to us." "No," Ryan's voice thundered, shaking his body free from fear. "He belongs to himself." With a surge of power, the pendant blazed even brighter. The light surged outward, spilling over everything until it consumed the alley and the city beyond. People gawked from a distance, lost in astonishment, as shadows melted away, folding into the brilliance. Then it hit. A rush of wind that knocked them both off their feet. Ryan shielded his eyes as the light engulfed everything, tearing down walls that had stood for too long. In that instant, something profound shifted. The darkness receded, and in its place, clarity erupted. When he opened his eyes again, the hooded figures were gone, dissolved like echoes of a nightmare. Samuel lay beside him, breathless but unharmed. The locket shimmered in the chaos, untouched yet filled with energy. "Is it over?" Ryan panted, anxiety churning in his stomach. The adrenaline was fading, leaving him raw and exposed. "I think so," Samuel whispered, slowly rising to his feet. Relief washed over Ryan like a cleansing wave. But the moment of peace was fleeting. They turned, scanning the empty alley. The city pulsed around them, alive with curiosity and chaos. Yet something nagged at him. A lingering question remained. "What now?" Ryan muttered, his heart weighed down with uncertainty. There was still so much unknown. Samuel gazed into the distance, something fierce igniting in his eyes. "We can't go back to hiding. There are more secrets, truths buried deep. We need to find them." The urgency of the moment shifted. Ryan nodded slowly, feeling the weight of this new responsibility. They had uncovered a part of the truth, but layers still lay beneath the surface. And that's when Ryan sensed a presence. A figure stepped from the shadows, familiar yet ominous. It was Marcus, unstealthy and sly, the glimmer of ambition still shining in his eyes. "Well done, brothers," he smirked, arrogance dripping from his words. "But know this, the game has just begun." The air buzzed, filled with tension and unspoken truths. There was more to unravel. more darkness lurking just out of sight. They weren't finished. Together, they had ignited a fierce light against the darkness. But more awaited them. As they prepared, a sense of unity surged through Ryan. This was a battle worth fighting. Samuel smiled, hope flickering in his eyes. They stood, side by side, ready to embrace whatever lay ahead. And as night fell, they stepped forward together, brothers entwined in fate, facing the unknown. But wait, you don't want to miss what comes next. You have to subscribe now. Smash that like button now and show your support for the journey ahead. Flood the comments with your reactions, theories, and what you think this all means. Don't wait even a second longer to share this video. Send it to your friends who need to see this ending. Your support means everything for the future stories.